He struggled frequently, falling into the shadows of his own mind, his pain somehow amplified by drink. The fits would strike out of nowhere, spiraling completely out of control. Yet through the chaos were short periods of peace, fleeting windows in which things appeared level and achievable. Those times his family clung to. His mother, weathered by love carved from softness and heartache, held firm at his side. That evening, two of his brothers had come by to visit, a mutual silence of love and protection that now appears agonizingly fragile in hindsight. By morning, everything was changed. The news exploded like a clap of thunder, ruining her reality in one instant flash. Her son was dead, his departure irreparable and self-inflicted. Grief fell upon her like a suffocating fog, stealing away her air and peace. But amidst the haze of unspeakable sorrow, she did not shatter. She did not place blame, not even on the man she shared her life with, despite the criticism of others. Her devotion to her son exceeded wrath, endured conflict, and overcame bitterness. Together, though separated in so many ways, they made the bitter but loving decisions that would maintain his memory. They chose a resting place abounding in memory, a sanctuary that had been a wellspring of laughter, love, and comfort to generations. It was home to him. The cremation was planned with patience and prudence, allowing them sufficient time to grieve and choose a befitting memorial in their own good time. Her former lover, clearly devastated, could do no more than say, "I want to take him home." And in that instant, united by an indomitable love for their son, they tapped into the strength of collective power. The ground they bought was more than land for burial. It was sacred earth, teeming with the memories of their people. It held their joy, their dream, their teaching. Their daughter, who was wise beyond her years, spoke eloquently of this country, their family ranch beneath the endless Wyoming sky, of it being the one stable thing in their ever-shifting lives. They returned year after year, not for ease, but to work, to thrive, to belong. So when the moment was appropriate, there was never a doubt. Bringing him home felt right, felt real. With trembling hands and a broken heart, his mother brought him there, her love as vast as the sky beneath which he now rests. Her healing is in fits and starts. There are days when the weight of grief is nearly intolerable, but she persists, cooking his favorite dishes, retelling his tales, planting his beloved flower. In the silence, she sustains his spirit, a reminder, behind each tragedy, each off-camera moment, are actual people enduring actual loss. The love of a mother never does end, even when her life is forever changed. Last week's episode of Sister Wives delivered a raw and emotional blow, presenting viewers with an unflinching glimpse of the heartbreaking loss felt by the Brown family. Longtime viewers were shocked to receive the tragic news of Garrison Brown's passing. What made the moment so heart-wrenching was the courage of the family to publicly share their grief on national television, particularly that of Janelle Brown, the calm and collected mother who turned out to be the emotional center of this tragic event. Her grief was seen transpire in live time as she talked about the horrific instant that she heard the news about her son. Her vulnerability with a touch of strength captured the essence of a mother who endured the unthinkable. But most incredible is how Janelle has moved on. A year later, she posted on Instagram to express genuine appreciation for the outpouring of kindness following the cry-filled broadcast. She admitted taking time to cope with the loss and how the mind can trick you into believing there's no hope, when in fact, there is some light. A recent trip to Flagstaff, which was filled with memories of Garrison everywhere around her, helped her to reconcile that she was ready to move on into the next chapter. Throughout the episode, more of Garrison's personal battles were unfolded, his anxiety, depression, and drinking after COVID-19, all Janelle dealt with in candor and compassion. Despite the blackouts and emotional distress, Janelle was soothed and centered by her grandchildren and children, those she called life-giving. Her spirituality also provided comfort to her, centering in the belief that she will get to see Garrison again someday, something that brings her a lot of peace. In the sweetest moments of the episode, Janelle provided a peek at Garrison's final day, remembering it fondly through her daughter Maddie. The two had spent the day texting constantly, a reflection of how close they were. Janelle was always sensitive to her son's mood, so she relied on her instincts and called him, sensing as though he needed to be reached. When he stopped answering that evening, she wasn't so much concerned. Garrison had good days and bad, often marked by bouts of binge drinking. She relied on his brothers, Hunter and Logan, to check on him. Before morning, however, the unthinkable had happened. Garrison took his own life. This tragic moment peeled away the layers of silent agony and exposed the irreplaceable power of empathy, compassion, and intervention in the darkest times of life. In the middle of mourning, Janelle was gracious even when talking about Cody Brown, much to the universal disgust of the viewers. Rather than being fed drama, she chose peace. At one tearful moment, Janelle cried openly as she described how she and Cody had chosen to cremate Garrison, saying, "We did that because I knew that was what he wanted." They mutually chose Wyoming, the spiritual and ancestral home of their family, to be where Garrison should rest. Having the funeral at a more convenient time seemed right for everyone. Cody validated with a simple, heartbreaking reality. "I just wanted to take my boy home." He suggested burying Garrison next to Grandma Cheryl in Wyoming, something the entire family agreed on. It was one that, while heartbreaking, provided them with some measure of peace, an act of love grounded in heritage. And yet, many remain curious about Cody's role in Garrison's strife. The relationship between the father and son had strained, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic when tensions flared over precautions. Cody had even attempted to evict Garrison from Janelle's home at one point. Through it all, Janelle stood firm, a pillar of strength, unbreakable in her resolve to care for her family and shepherd them through grief. A decision on where to bury Garrison was close to home. "My mom and Cody's dad are both there," said Janelle, "and I want to place Garrison with my mom." Wyoming is not just a location to the Browns, it is home. Garrison had spent many summers working on the family ranch there, building his identity and making a lifetime of memories. Maddie echoed it. "Wyoming is the closest to us having roots. The earth holds their past, their sorrows, and their happiness." It was the only natural setting for Garrison's final rest. Cody, in his stoic resolve, spoke again. "I just want to bring him home." To understand the gravity of this choice, it is useful to know where the sister wives' own journey had started. Cody himself matured and was born in Lovell, Wyoming, and grew up in the unique complexities of polygamist family life firsthand. That was part of the Brown family legacy. Some of the older children were born within Wyoming, and the first three wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, had all resided there first before the family moved to Lehi, Utah. Although the reasons for their move in the middle of the night remain a mystery, this is one thing for sure. Cody's actions always had consequences. Bigamy is a third-degree felony in Utah. Although since polygamists are generally not prosecuted, there were whispers during season 1 that local authorities were investigating the Browns. Cody himself admitted that having multiple wives under his roof would land him in jail, perhaps another source of stress within an already complicated family drama. The Brown family at the time lived under one roof, one homestead divided into separate rooms. Under pressure from the law and prying eyes from outside, concerned for family safety, Cody decided it was best to get everyone to Las Vegas. Even though officials later clarified that no ongoing investigation had been active, the action still generated controversy. Just as the family was beginning to stabilize once again, Cody ignited fresh controversy by moving them all again, this time to Flagstaff, Arizona. The incessant switching drew questions regarding how much such instability cost the family's cohesion and mental well-being. Then came the worst news of all. In March of 2024, the unthinkable happened. Garrison Brown, age 25, ended his life. The sister wives' family was shocked to learn that the young man, whose shy nature and love of cats had won over all, had killed himself after spending a night wallowing in despair and drinking too much. It was his brother Gabriel who found the ghastly scene the following morning. The Cook County Medical Examiner's report confirmed that Garrison had died from a gunshot wound that he had administered to the head. The autopsy revealed a shockingly high level of blood alcohol at 0.307%, almost 4 times Arizona's legal limit of 0.08%. A level not just dangerous, but also deadly. Cody and Janelle Brown reacted by issuing a joint statement on social media. Cody and I are sorry to report to you the passing of our beloved son, Robert Garrison Brown. To anyone who met him, he was a shining light. The void his passing creates is unimaginable. We respectfully ask for privacy now and hope you'll keep him in mind with us. Alas, Garrison and Cody never reconciled before his death, a fact that cast a dark shadow of unresolved pain over the family. On the latest episode of Sister Wives, viewers get to see Cody attempting to take responsibility for his own guilt and grief, a man owning up to his past at a moment of bare emotional truth. This episode doesn't shy away from the pain. Instead, it offers an unflinching, deeply human portrait of a family learning to live with unbearable loss. For longtime viewers who've seen the Browns work their way through their richly complicated process of growth, struggle, and evolution, this chapter is one of the sorrowful ones. The episode naturally is both a farewell and an in memoriam, a glimpse into a family whose every corner is now visited by the death of a beloved son. As the emotional center of the family, Janelle bore not only her own sorrow, but that of all those who relied on her. The cameras witnessed more. Admired for her unyielding strength, Janelle chose to speak openly of her sorrow, reenacting the frightening phone call that shattered her world. Over time, though the sharpness of her pain diminished somewhat, the pain remained. She was able to speak words to describe her grief, to find space for it, and fans admired the quiet dignity with which she faced each day. After the episode was aired, Janelle made a turn to social media to express thanks for the love and support. "It's taken time," she wrote, "but I've accepted the truth. We did all that we could. Sometimes, no matter how hard you strive, the fight within a loved one is unseen and too quiet." Her words reflected the exhaustion of so many late nights, lying awake hoping for answers. She talked of a recent visit to a city that was full of memories, where at every street corner, every ancient haunt whispered his name. "I could feel him everywhere," she told the TV camera. "It's obvious to me now. I have to begin again. Every shadow and every breeze reminds me of him. It reassures me, but it pains me too." This encounter provided television viewers with greater insight into the young man they had grown up watching on the screen. Garrison, like so many of his generation, struggled deeply after the global pandemic. The isolation, disrupted routine, and suffocating uncertainty took their toll on his mental health. Janelle gave glimpses of his suffering, of spirals of worry, of meltdown, and nights of alcohol binges. But rather than letting those moments define him, she pointed to the joy he brought into their lives. She whispered softly of her grandchildren, children who carry pieces of Garrison inside them. "They give me purpose," she said. "Even in the blackest sorrow, there is hope. Because of my faith, I believe I will be holding him in my arms someday. That hope is my anchor." Behind all the masks of loss, Janelle still took comfort in having her daughter by her side, a daughter who also carried her quiet strength and loving heart. They relived Garrison's final day, a day that, on the surface at least, had been normal. They had a daily routine of chat, messaging each other all day long, holding on to each other despite physical distance. That night was also the same. There were no omens, no ominous silences. Whispering, Janelle replied, "He needed connection, and I tried to be there for him as much as I could." The quiet continued into the evening without her panicking. She had learned to identify the rise and fall of his emotional cycles, the peaks and the heart-stopping drunken lows, the times when things seemed to stabilize, even to be that falsely placid. Before and without notice, he'd crash. It was the painful cycle they were struggling so hard to keep under control with him. 2 of his brothers had planned on visiting him that evening, she knew, and she had found some solace in that. Their family had built some sort of emotional safety net around Garrison, a tenuous concord of watchfulness and gentleness. But morning came, and all was altered. The news hit her like a thunderclap, leaving her breathless. In an instant, the world she had known was gone. Her son had chosen to leave it on his own terms. And yet, even in that unthinkable instant, she remained unshakable. She did not break down, nor did she rage in fury. She chose grace. As many viewers vented their outrage at her ex-husband, she would not allow bitterness sully her memories of her son. Although she and Cody had been separated for many years, especially years of conflict about control and raising children, they had otherwise wrestled with life's toughest decisions together. When they traveled to visit the funeral home, they chose Garrison's resting place carefully. It was one steeped in family heritage, where they had once heard the sound of laughter and where generations rested peacefully. "We knew he loved it there," she whispered. It felt like the only place that did make sense. They ultimately decided on cremation, a decision made with reverence. It gave them flexibility, allowing them to have a memorial at a more subdued time, when hearts were quieter and loved ones could gather without haste. "It gave us time to breathe," she said. "Time to plan, time to honor him the right way." Cody stayed by her side in that spent clarity, offering nothing but a simple truth. "I want to take him home." Together in the one thing that had ever been immovable, their enduring, unconditional love of their son, they laid Garrison under the same Wyoming sky he had looked up at, next to another treasured family member. Despite lingering public opinion's skepticism of Cody, there were some calling out his former ways, specifically during the pandemic, when tensions over strict in-home regulations had wide rifts. Janelle remained unbroken. Even threats of eviction and rumors about taking Garrison away from the household had left behind deep scars, but she wouldn't let the wounds of years past dictate the story of her son. Instead, she was the family's rock-solid cornerstone, their shelter in the middle of the maelstrom. She was made stronger, not by avoiding her sorrow, but by enduring it. She embraced the scope of her loss, yet every morning she still rose for the benefit of those who were still left. Her suffering became a testament to a mother's courageous, unrelenting love. Although the cameras caught fleeting glimpses, the true story lay in the silence, where love and grief existed together, and where life, however painfully, continued. She lingered each time she passed by his favorite spot in the house, the weight of memory tugging at her. In solitude, she wept silently. With her grandchildren, she spoke softly of him, weaving his presence into their earliest memories. Healing was never a linear line. Sorrow swept in on some days, leaving her breathless. She persisted nonetheless. She cooked meals for the family, read bedtime stories to the children, took impromptu car rides in the car with her girls. She pruned his favorite flowers and planted a garden in his name. She played his favorite music, lit candles on quiet nights, and kept notebooks full of thoughts she could not speak. In her own sacred way, she protected him, sewing him into the fabric of a life that has to go on. She is no icon, no heroine, just a mother, deeply human and endlessly broken, grieving for the loss of her boy in the only way she can, truthfully, gently, and with an unshatterable resolve to keep going. Though the series will continue, new seasons, new stories, lighter moments to balance the darkness of what transpired, those who watch this one will not soon forget. It was a milestone, a tragedy imprinted on every frame. A television moment more than fleeting, it was a reminder of the rougher world. That with every scripted scene, there are real human beings grappling with unimaginable loss. Her unexpected and heart-shattering loss of her beloved son irreparably altered the trajectory of the family. Loss now envelops them like an impenetrable fog, inseparable. The public sees them on reality television, but behind the cameras, they are shy spirits working privately with pains too monumental to name. And yet, from the heart of that pain, her voice has begun to speak, hushed, measured, resolute, shedding light on the private, painful decisions made following loss. One of those decisions was where her son would rest forever. To her, the decision wasn't to be made. They would return home. It wasn't on a map. It was to the homeland of open fields, sky as far as the eye can see, and memories as dense as mountain air. It was a place where her own spirit still finds rest, a country full of family legend. That chosen spot, beneath so steep a range and grassy meadows, holds resting places of past generations, unspoken signs of time's passage. Nearer at hand lies the grave of the former lover's father, a poignant reminder of a shared once held religion and kinship tradition, now inextricably blended forever beneath Wyoming's skyless horizon. These lands had once shaped her son in ways the world could not see. It was there, in the dust and wind and scent of new hay and wild sage, that he learned the worth of work, obligation, and belonging, things no suburban enclave could teach him. She watched that land transform him, make him whole, provide him with a sense of purpose, of place. Now it would welcome him in again, not to life, but to the calm of endless rest. Despite their years of disagreements, on values, on parenting, and on so much more, she and her co-parent did not disagree about this. There was no necessity. They both understood simultaneously and without regard to thinking that this was home for their son. It was a rare moment of accord in the midst of destruction, one unifying truth that eased the burden by a mere fraction. For a man who struggled with change, this truth was sacred. Their daughter, intuitively wise, spoke gently of the way that land had been the steady within a life full of tumult. The ranch wasn't simply a location, it was a touchstone to who they were. It was where they kept coming back, not to frolic, but to be forged by labor and tradition. It was beyond memory. It was heritage. So, when the moment to choose came, there was no debate. The father, his voice rough, simply said, "I just want to take him home." And the mother, her heart shattered, her hands trembling, nodded. She took her boy home. That soil, to outsiders, can be nothing but grime and stone. But to them, it's sacred. It's where love once flourished, where laughter once resonated, where dreams were sown and struggle left its scar. It's where their story, of anguish, yes, but of tranquility too, continues on the wind that whispers of all that they have lost and all that they still hold dear.